Hey guys, Todd from Great Escape Farms here. Today I have a Yard Machines 10 horsepower wood chipper here, and I was out using it and it was running fine and it stopped. It was just going along and it just stopped. Seemed like it was out of gas, but I knew that I had gas in here. As a matter of fact, let me open this up. So we are, well, I don't know if you can see it in here, but yeah, I'm sitting at about a half a tank of gas. So it definitely seemed like a fuel issue, not an electric issue, just because of the way it stopped. It acted exactly like it was running out of gas. So this could be several things. More than likely, it is the carburetor, or it could be something in the fuel line, but like I say, more than likely it is the carburetor. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the carburetor here. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. Actually, let me explain something real quick. I would show you exactly what it was doing, because when I start it in the normal position right here, in the run position, it will not start. However, if I go to choke, it gets a little bit of a poo, like it's trying to start, but it acts like it's starving for gas, which to me, like I say, it means that I have a clog somewhere. So we're gonna go ahead and take the carburetor off, take a look. So I'm gonna set this up on the tripod and show you a couple tricks that I do to get this carburetor off here. Actually, let me show you the reason why I'm going to do this trick before I put it in the tripod. So if you notice, we have this impeller thing here that actually grinds it up. And because of that, I need to remove this screw, and there's one on the back side right back here where my finger is. And I can't put a long screwdriver in because it's going to hit the black thing here. So I have to use something that only comes out a little bit, and those little itty bitty screwdrivers it's not long enough. It wouldn't give me enough to actually get a hold on. So I'll show you a little neat trick on that. So let me set up on the tripod. Okay, so my little trick here is I have a long DeWalt Phillips screw bit here, and that goes into a 1/4-inch socket, and that allows me to come in like this. So this one is no problem here, but it's the back one. So let me make sure I'm on remove here. There are nuts on it, but I've had this thing off enough that okay, and then at this point I can do it. So I've had the carburetor off enough. Actually, before I do that, let me go ahead and remove the air cleaner here, just so it's out of the way. And what I do is I flip it over, I put the nut inside the air cleaner so I don't lose that. Reach in here. That screw out. Mr. Murphy, are you going to be a co-star? No, yep, I can see you a little bit there. You got to get in all my movies, don't you? Okay. So when we take this screw off, we have two hoses on here. One is emissions and one is the main fuel line. We also have the throttle valve, which connects to the governor to control speed and everything. And there's also a gasket in here. You got to make sure you keep track of that. You don't want to lose that. So here's the throttle linkage, which connects up to the governor there and back to the throttle right here. So what you do is you tilt the carburetor at a 90-degree angle and it comes in. It just kind of locks in place there. The emissions one is easy to get off. The fuel line is a little bit tighter, and I have a bit of a pain with that. Okay, and I notice a problem immediately here. And by the way, you need to have a pan around to collect fuel, but my problem right now is my fuel line is wide open. Let me double check. Yes, it's wide open, and I'm getting next to nothing for fuel out. I'm getting a couple little drops there. So let me show you right here on this side. Let me set up this. I went in and put in a little valve right here to shut it on and off. So maybe something is hung up in there, or it could be underneath. So let me change the setup of this tripod, and we'll go ahead and we'll look at the fuel tank itself. So it looks like it is not a carburetor issue, it is the fuel line itself. Okay, so I turned my valve here to the off position. That way I don't have to worry about any fuel getting out to the rest of the line there. And I also put the pan underneath so that I will collect any fuel that falls out here. And what I need to do is remove there's a clamp on the fuel line here. I don't know if this clamp comes on all machines or if this was put on after the fact. I did buy this machine used and it might have been put on there. So it just turns a couple turns and then we pull it down. And you know what, we're not getting anything out of the fuel tank itself, so I'm going to loosen the cap just in case there's a vacuum on there and the cap is messed up. And let me just double check. So I do have fuel in the tank. So my issue is something is clogged up here, so I'm going to remove the fuel tank and go ahead and dump it out and just clean the tank here. So that would have been my last guess, the fuel tank here. But so the way that we're going to do that, oops, sorry for knocking you around there, is we're going to remove actually these two bolts right here, and then we're going to lift the tank straight up. And while I'm setting up for that and getting the right tools, I'm going to connect this up just in case something loosens up here, and we'll go from there. Okay, we are all set up here. Just going to hit it with a simple ratchet here, and I like to remove these here versus these. The ones back here, that allows the whole assembly to lift up. If you remove these, then you have to kind of bend the tank down and lift it up, and you'll see a little bit more on that when once I get it off. So the whole goal here is to remove the tank and empty it out. And while I was goofing around off air, I actually managed to apparently knock the piece loose, whatever was in there, because I did get a little bit of fuel to flow. So I'm gonna have to be careful now that it's loose. However, I need to take this off and continue on with what I'm doing because I have got to get that piece out of there, because the last thing I want to do is get out to the job site and have this thing not work. Okay, so you'll see it slides forward a little bit and it comes up. Let me move this out of the way. So it kind of sits right there on the little bracket. And what I'm going to do is remove that piece. And I didn't think this through as far as you seeing this on the camera here. So I'm just going to kind of dump it right on in here. And, yeah, I have quite a few pieces of goop and gum in here. More difficult than I figured getting all the gas out of here. Okay, I think I got most of it out. And let me show you what we ended up with here. So there's a piece there, there's a piece of something there, that looks like a bug there, and there's a little bit of dirt and stuff down at the bottom. So a number of things get in there, and that could be something I didn't even think about is I have the gas can sitting around while I'm running this thing, and I could very easily get wood chips and stuff in the nozzle. So I make sure that I'm very careful when I put gas in to not knock anything in, but if it's already in the nozzle itself, then that could very well cause some issues for me there. So, okay, now to get it put back together, what I'm probably going to do is run gas. I'm going to clean this gas, run it through several times, and dump it out, make sure that there's nothing else in there that I missed, and then I'm going to go ahead and connect this back up and get the system put back together. So let me do that real quick, and then I will hook right back up with you. We are all set here. Everything is clean and good to go. So what I'm going to do is cover up that hole there. Actually, what would be easier is just to connect this hose up first. There. That way any gas out that comes out is going to go in there. Okay, I'm back in my slot. I'm going to put these screws back on. And I'm going to go ahead and ratchet these down, and I'm going to move the tripod over, and I'll just show you how to put the carburetor back together so you can see how that's done. It's pretty much same as I did before, only in reverse, but just to show you how to do it. Okay, we are back. So let's see. One of the first things we're going to do is go ahead and hook the linkage back up. So I did run gas through the line. It runs good. So let's see. The very first thing I want to do is hook the linkage up, then the hoses, and then we'll do everything else. So again, you just go in sideways and then twist it up. And then, yeah, let me do, oops, linkage came off. Try that again. Do the fuel line. I need to pull the fuel line through here. Come on. And I needed to pull the fuel line through because it was tugged out this way from when I removed the carburetor. Okay. Okay, I lined it up. It looks good there. And now I'm gonna let the carburetor sit down, and I need to push the 2 screws through. And put the gasket on. Do not forget the gasket. And then line the carburetor up, put it on, and probably going to do the screw closest to me here, because from having done this in the past, I know that the back screw and nut alignment is a bit more cumbersome. So this will hold everything in place while I get the other one lined up. Okay, so now I got to figure out, and I'm afraid that when I'm doing this, I'm going to be blocking your view there. And that one worked fine. Good deal. Okay, that's tight. And that is tight. Air cleaner back on. And there we go. Now let's see if this baby will start. So let me back you up here in the on position. One choke. Actually, let me turn the gas on and give a minute for the float mold to fill up. And let's give her a try. Good to go. Now comes the real test. Let's go out and put it to work and see if it lasts for several hours. I think it will this time. So anyhow, with that, thank you very much for tuning in. Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. I hope you have a wonderful day.